I'd like to tell you the story about a plumber who come and look at a problem with one of his, the guy calls up the plumber. He says, I want you to come and look at a problem with one of my pipes. The plumber rocks up, listens to the man rumbling on about 10 minutes. He looks around a little and then he takes out a pipe wrench and he hit the pipes 3 or 4 times at the same place. Problem's fixed instantly. So the plumber hands the bill to the client, but the guy is shocked that the invoice is for $900. Highly upset, he says to the plumber, how can you charge me $900 for simply hitting a pipe with a pipe wrench? So the plumber just takes back the bill, scribbles some notes on it, gives it back to the customer. So the guy reads the bill, and now it says, Item 1, hitting the pipe with a pipe wrench, $20. Item 2, knowing to hit the pipe with a pipe wrench, $440. Item 3, knowing how and where to hit the pipe, another $440. So what's the moral of this story? Well, there is many, but for the purposes of today and this meeting, the moral of the story is to communicate properly with your client in order to prevent unnecessary conflict, but also put that communication plan into a process, and you will be able to get your team to act on it. Hi, everyone. My name is Linda Bott. I'm a business doctor. From my side, I want to thank you all for dialing in. I hope today you will gain some valuable insight on how you can change some of your greatest challenges and achieve your wildly important goal. Now, quickly, in the comments, if you want to, let us know where you are from and the one biggest challenge you are facing as a business owner. Also, maybe you want to keep a pen and a paper ready if you want to take some notes. There could be a little bit of writing coming up. And remember, it's all for your own sake. But so just before we kick this off, I would like to say for the record, I know absolutely squat about plumbing. You tell me to unblock a drain, my first thought is to grab the toilet brush. Heck knows what I'll do with it. But what I know a few things about is running a business and how to achieve wildly important goals. Those goals that are slightly more important than downing a beer in under 5 seconds. So if running your business is somewhat of a challenge to you, it's more like your business is running you. Stick around for the next few minutes. So what exactly is a wildly important goal? Isn't all goals important? Well, yes, but some goals have a somewhat greater impact, and we like to call it wildly important goals. Now, you might think of a whole lot of wildly important goals that you can think of straight away. Retiring early, being filthy rich, buying a little game farm, fishing for a living, stuff like that. Or maybe it's simply to pay the bills at the end of the month. Now, those examples are not very good business examples, but surely it's something to consider. But let's get a little bit more serious. Maybe a wildly important goal for your business is to improve on your client communication. In the story about the plumber who hit the pipe with a pipe wrench, perhaps the plumber could have communicated a little better with the client even before he made his first in-person contact. Perhaps his marketing communication should be telling the potential client out there that he is a professional plumber with years' experience and brilliant problem-solving skills. But okay, that can be a discussion for another day. Today we talk about lag and lead measures and how to achieve your wildly important goal. Now, just so that you don't lose you, a lag measure is something you measure afterwards. It's something that you measure something after the event. So it's typically a financial report or a ratio that you do to find out how you did for the month. Okay, it's looking back and say, did we accomplish that what we wanted to? A lead measure is something you do beforehand, even before you start, even before you get to start your month, you think of things that you need to do to make it happen. Now, before I explain this in greater detail, let me explain where the concept of lag and lead measures originated from. It is the concept of the 4 disciplines of execution, or you can call it the 4DX. You can call it important steps to take when you want to implement a goal. Now, one of the biggest challenges for any business, big or small, is the execution of a structured, or better yet, strategic plan. Why is that? People get so caught up in their daily routines that it becomes really hard to focus on anything else outside of their daily work. We call that the whirlwind. The 4DX was developed by 3 businessmen and authors, Chris McChesney, Sean Covey, and Jim Hulling. They realized that having a plan is not enough, and getting yourself and your team to act on that plan is just about impossible if you don't have a solid and structured process to get it done. Your wildly important goals might be much more than just a few, but research has shown that you can only act on 1 or maybe 2 goals at a time. Your WIGs, it's short for wildly important goal, should also be big enough to actually influence your future success. It's something that requires effort to get the wheel turning, but once that wheel is turning, it becomes a vital part of your daily routine, your new whirlwind, so to speak. A WIG is not a once-off event. It is a new way of doing things. It should improve or grow your business, make it more productive, and by doing that, increase your profitability. The reason why people find it hard to implement new goals or strategies into their daily work routine is simply because people lack clarity, commitment, and accountability to deliver on the new plan or goal. The whirlwind are taking up all their time, energy, and focus. Think about your own daily routines. Being so busy working in your business, servicing clients, ordering consumables, parts, and things. Maybe you're sorting out issues upon issues. And then you also need to worry about the finances. People who's not paying you not paying you on time, or you need to make payments. It's a constant battle of staying afloat, and you are thrown around in the whirlwind of daily living. In order for you to break out and do something different so your business can grow or become more profitable, you need the necessary discipline to put things in action, and you need your team to go along with you. This is where the 4DX comes in. Now, there are 4 disciplines in this process. This is your chance now, if you want to put this knowledge into perspective for yourself and your business. So feel free to write down your wildly important goal as we go along. But you can start by thinking, what can you potentially improve on to make your business a little better? The first discipline is to focus on your wildly important goal. So for purposes of today's meeting and our topic, let's say our WIG is to improve on customer communication. The second discipline is to act on the lead measures. I will explain lag and lead measures in greater detail just now, but let's say we will be formulating, implement, and measure a whole new sales process, step by step, so that from the very first connection with a client, the process is well formulated. It is trainable, it's easy to follow, and does what we want it to do to communicate better. The third discipline is to keep a compelling scoreboard. Now, I'm saying scoreboard, I actually mean scoreboard like in sports. When does any team sport event become exciting? What happens when people start seeing their team scores go up? Yeah, well, you guessed it. Keeping score is what it is all about. The difference between keeping score on the sports field and keeping score in the office is that in the office, we are all on the same team. The opponent is a wildly important goal that we're trying to achieve. In fact, we want to hit it out of the ballpark. Keeping weekly score of your progress will motivate your team to achieve that goal. Discipline 4 is to create a cadence of accountability. Involving the team in the process right from the start will help them to own the process and own the WIG. And involvement requires responsibility and accountability. Now let's talk about what is a lag measure. You have to ask yourself, have I achieved my goal? Now, if I can give you this example, you cannot control how often your car breaks down next to the road. Now, that's a lag measure. You cannot control the availability of consumables and stock items for completing a job. Most businesses focus heavily on lag measures. They measure their performance on how much sales they did for the month or how much profit they made. These are all lag measures. You can't do anything about a lag measure. It is done already. It's looking back on what has happened and measuring performance based on that. It's not a bad thing. It just won't move you forward into achieving your WIG. So what then is a lead measure? You ask yourself the question, what can I do to achieve my goal? Now let's get back to the example of the car. You cannot control how often your car breaks down next to the road, but you can control how often you do maintenance on your car to ensure that the chances of it breaking down next to the road is drastically reduced. You cannot control the availability of consumables and stock items for doing your plumbing job, but you can calculate how often your supplier runs out of stock versus the number of times you need those consumables and stock items to serve your client. And therefore, you can make sure that you keep the required number of stock on hand so your client doesn't have to wait for a job to be done. Back to our client communication example. We can control what information we give through to our prospect clients. And once they become our clients, we can control how often we communicate with them and what we communicate. And then we can control how well our client services are. Putting all of this into a step-by-step process will help you to know how to engage with your client, what to say, and when to say it. It will also give a sense of stability and security to the client, and it will automatically communicate to your client that you mean serious business and you got your pipes all lined up. So in line with your own WIG that you wrote down earlier or that you thought of, what can you potentially do to achieve your wildly important goal? Maybe you want to write down one thing that you will be able to measure. You can influence the outcome and likely achieve your goal. So why is this important? By creating and following lead measures, you can control the best possible outcome of your day, your month, and your year. Don't allow things to simply happen. You go and make things happen. Lead measures forces you to think ahead of time, plan and strategize, so you can achieve your goal, whatever that is. It also avoids complications that has a tendency to push you into survival mode and forces you to constantly kill fires just to stay afloat. Acting on a lead measure will help you to have the necessary discipline to act on your WIG. So how does this work now? A lag measure measures the goal. A lead measure must be predictive and it must be influenceable. You can predict the weather, but you cannot influence it. The weather is not a lead measure. You can measure the steps in your process, firstly by if the steps have been acted on or if it has been skipped. And then you can also measure them on how well it has been executed. Those steps are predictive and you can very well have an influence on it. If there's any improvements to be made, you can do it because you created that step-by-step process and you can change it to be more effective. You can, by involving all your team members, get them to buy into your new customer approach and selling process. So here's a couple of pointers on where to start and how to get the ball rolling on achieving your wildly important goal. Perhaps you want to write this down as we go through it. Decide on your wildly important goal. Getting the team to focus all their efforts on one wildly important goal will have the greatest impact rather than giving average attention to a lot of goals at once. Make sure it's something that will greatly impact your business for the better. Secondly, involve your team right from the start. Brainstorming on lead measures will allow for the best possible lead measures because your team members might think of things happening on the floor that you do not necessarily know or think of. Decide on your process and what your lead measures will be. It needs to be easy to understand and act upon. Create a scoreboard. There are 4 characteristics of a great scoreboard. It needs to be simple. It needs to be visible. It must show the lag and lead measures, and it must be easy to understand. Creating a scoreboard will encourage your team to correct their mistakes and improve on lead measures. A whiteboard in the office showcasing your scoreboard should be perfect. Make sure your team can see it daily. Create a cadence of accountability. That will challenge your team members to discover where they can impact on the lead measures. Every team member should be challenged to discover what they can do weekly to impact the lead measures. If it's their vision, then it's their job. Arrange a week meeting. There are 3 parts to a week session. Firstly, report on the tasks. Every team member gives a report on pre-assigned tasks and share what they learned. Secondly, review the scoreboard. Learn from successes and failures. The lead and lag measures are examined and adjusted. Thirdly, make new plans, new commitments and decisions to reach the overall week. The week sessions don't solve the problems. It is the planning, the reviews, and the reports that provide solutions. Jim Stewart, one of the team members of the writers of the 4 disciplines of execution, said, "To achieve a goal you've never achieved before, you must start doing things you have never done before. Do yourself the favor and introduce this process into your business." Our example of client communication might not be so far-fetched, and you will be surprised when you check your lead measure on how much impact communication can have to your overall sales. Are there any questions that anyone would like to ask? Do you fully understand the lag measure or the lead measure? Do you understand the concept of the scoreboard? How do you compile a scoreboard?
I think, Linda, if you just go into a little bit more detail on that one, then they'll be able to pick up on where we are with that.
The scoreboard. Okay, great. So if you can envision a whiteboard and you look at, maybe you've got your lead measures written down, and let me explain it with an example. So you decide that you want to sign up a big customer that can bring recurring income for you. So your goal is to lock in this client and have the ability to create weekly or monthly recurring business for yourself. Your lead measure would then be, maybe one would be to get your communication good and ready to line up that customer. You want another one to make sure that your business is actually capable of handling that client. So you want your infrastructure to be right and ready. You maybe want to put some processes in place to make sure that you can service this customer with really good services, really good timing. You want to make sure that that your team is all on par with what they need to do, maybe in the process, that they're all linked into the process. Now, all of that could be lead measures. So you have that written down on your scoreboard, and then you pinpoint, you put a date to it, you put maybe a target of what you'd like to reach by when. And then weekly, you look back onto that scoreboard and you'll see where you are. So it's something that will move. It's something that you'll tick off. It may be something that you put a percentage to. Maybe you decide that you want to also measure how much recurring business you're bringing in, and you want to target to that, and you can actually measure that. So what happens is that instead of just looking back on what did we achieve, you are actually thinking forward and pushing yourself to the point where you want to achieve something and you're going to make it happen. But the problem is that the whirlwind comes in the way. We get busy in the day, we're doing our business, and we don't actually act on the things that we want to, that would take us further or take us to the point we would like to achieve. I don't know if this will help a little to understanding it.
Yeah, thanks, Linda. I think, and it's something, like you say, that the daily basis, we all have great intentions of doing these things and setting up, different things within different offices. And I think, that's where the challenge comes in. So I think in many cases, the guys, are sort of working in rather than on the business and just overseeing what's going on. And I think it's having those principles in place. And it's, as you said before, is making sure the team is aware of what you want to achieve. It's no use keeping it yourself and not sharing it down to, the individual that makes the coffee in the morning. We all know what happens when that person doesn't come to work. We all have a real crappy day because everybody's got a focus on a structure and a means within that business. So I think it's very key to be able to do that. And many years ago, we used to have it in my office, we used to have a board, and we used to have red and orange and yellow and green. And those were the different types of customers that we had. And that red one was the instant, drop everything, get it going. Because again, you were focusing on the deliverables for that client because, maybe 60% of your business was challenged there. So it was just trying to get everybody to understand where we were and what we were doing in terms of the induction, even for new staff members to come in. And it's a weekly, monthly thing of making sure everybody's on the same page. And we are going out there to make a difference and obviously affect the bottom line, but just have a great structure in place.
Correct. And that's why processes is so important. If you have a step-by-step process in place of how you do things in your business, when new people comes in, you can literally give them some reading material. Tell them, listen, this is a step-by-step. You read through it, and then I'll take you through it. And this is how we do things. It may sound like for us that you've got small businesses and we think, I don't really need this. The thing is that you are the one business that actually needs it, because the only way that you can really grow your business is if you do it structurally, and you have to have a proper plan in place, and a system or a process, a step-by-step process is excellent for that. It makes you focus and think forward, and it cannot not take your business forward. It must take your business forward if you act on that. And to get your people involved, you need to, if you think about yourself, you need some motivation, right? So I've learned from my own kids. I've got two adult boys. I've learned that they will only act if their motivation comes from inside. So it's pointless. I can stand next to the road and I can cheer them on, but that's not going to make any difference to them. And that's the problem that we're sitting with, having employees that don't buy into our vision, or they don't understand our process, or they don't understand their part in the process. You have to, and that's why you involve them from the start. What is our goal? How are we going to get there, guys? You tell me, where do you see yourself acting on this goal, getting it done? Where can you influence it? And that's when they started buying into it, because they've put their hands up, literally saying, I'll do this part, or I'll do that part. And then you just keep them accountable with the weekly scoreboard.
And I think, Linda, that, it's a very good point that you've raised there, because, sometimes it's you'll do as I say type of thing. But, when bringing everybody in, and, Rory McNamara used to have a stick, and everybody used to have their turn. If you had the stick, you could speak. And, when you go and have a look at that principle, then everybody feels a part of it because they're contributing to it. And as you said earlier, the guy that's in the truck or out there, the experiences he brings back to the table. And then it's about participation, and it's about recognizing some of those points, that it's a shared thing and all working as a team, and not just saying, well, I'm the boss and you will do it this way. And it's because I want it this way. We've always done it this way. So we're not going to change. And I think that's the mindset sometimes we need to get out of.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true.
Are there any questions? I think Byron's lost his internet. He's just sent me a message now. We've got any questions coming from the floor from those attendees? Anybody want to raise their hand or just put a comment in? Guys are very quiet this morning again. You've answered all their questions. They're all sitting there going, okay, we're going to go and have a meeting outside now quickly and get that going. But I think, as I say, Linda, thank you very much for your time today. I think, it's super, to hear, the feedback and coming from me, although there's not many questions coming through, but we have this on many occasions. But it's just getting that info over, just trying to go and do it. And I think also, Linda, and I don't know if you'll agree, but, sometimes just sharing with somebody else who's been through that. There's a lot of small businesses that have become big businesses, because of change and, doing the same thing over and over and battling. We need to sometimes think outside that box. Things are tough now. We've had all different types of things going on in our country over the last couple of years, and we're still here. We're still in the game. We're still playing. The final whistle hasn't blown yet.
Yes,
So
yes.
we need to adapt. We need to certainly
It's absolutely true. And you have to ask yourself constantly, why would a client call me to do the job? What makes me different from the next plumber? We've heard a lot of feedback of the small guy who decides that they're going to just be more structured, and it made all the difference in the world.
Yeah, and I think that's the key thing. We talk about this often in our sessions, is that what makes you stand out? What makes you different? What do you do that somebody else doesn't do? What gives you the edge? What do you do differently? I use one in America. There was a guy, and his whole advert was, we'll guarantee you that the plumber will smell good when he comes there. And it stood out, and it still sits with me today. But that he'll guarantee you that plumber's going to arrive there. He's going to smell like roses. And that was the way that he went. But he lived, and again, it was just something totally outside the box. If you're advertising 1 hour service, that's what people want today. They want you there within an hour. If we receive your call before 10, you'll get the same day service. There's different ways of how to advertise and how to market your business to be different. But if you open up any sort of advert, block drains, geysers, pipes, there's a whole list of items that's there, but nothing that makes you stand out from the crowd.
Correct. That's very, very true. In business terms, we like to think of like the plumbers and the electricians. We like to think of businesses like that as a commodity. So if me as a customer, I've got a block drain, so I call the first available plumber. Okay, so I'm not going to look for someone specific. Now we can change that business. You as the business, you as the plumber, you as the business owner, you can change that perspective. You can make people call you instead of just going down the list and picking the first available one. And by doing, and the way you're doing that is to stand out, is be different.
100% agree. And I think that's something that a lot of businesses have got to get to. We see all the flashy trucks, we see all of that. And, again, there are just many ways of drawing that business in. But I think, Byron, we've got you back. I think, are you back in the land of the internet here?
Yes, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Are we for time? Sorry, we were going on there. Linda was just adding a huge amount of that.
We got a minute left, so if there's anything you'd like to add before we end off now, then
okay, maybe I can just say that if there's anybody, any of the participants today that would like to have a chat with me, you're more than welcome. Just give me a WhatsApp, send me a WhatsApp or give me a call, send me an email, and I'll get in touch with you. And yeah, we can maybe discuss one or two of your things that you struggle with. I also do what you call a free health check for your business, and it really is for free. It takes about an hour and a half, and we can set up. We have to set up a time for that. So you can give me a call and let me know if you are interested in that. And yeah, And
Thank you very
I'd
much for
love
that.
to,
Yes,
yeah. And thank you very much for today. Thank you for the opportunity.